There will be a Women's Nations League, which is a first, and it will be introduced in the year 2023. Talking about beginning at the autumn, and it would lead to the qualification for the 2025 Women's Euros. Now, you know quite well that the men's edition of the UEFA Nations League has been in existence for a few years now, with France being the defending champions of that, competition. Although it's certain that they won't be defending the title, having had an abysmal run during the group stages. But for the women's edition of the tournament, it's set to begin in autumn of 2023, as I said, and it will lead up to the 2025 Women's European Championships. Now, countries will be placed into leagues, and that would be of 3 tiers, and it will be based on 3 or 4 teams on the basis of their rankings, as well as promotion and relegation, just similar to what you have in the men's edition of the show, or edition of the tournament rather. And it's going to be between 3 tiers. You have the winners of the 4-tier groups contesting the finals, just as you have in the men's competition. Now, the competition, as I said earlier, will be linked into qualification for both the 2025 Euros as well as the 2027 Women's World Cup, with a Nations League ranking as well, determining the team's starting league position when it comes to qualifiers. It will be intriguing to see how this pans out. It's remember, it was UEFA's initiative to replace the direct qualifiers that they had in place earlier on, just to make qualifiers more competitive. And let's see how it fares in the women's game. We can't deny the fact that the women's game has grown in leaps and bounds over the last 4 years, especially in terms of traction, both viewership, followership, attendance in the stadia, in the various stadia now. It's definitely something to watch out for. Remember, Barcelona's women's team played, at the Nou Camp, where you had over 95,000 fans, watch their game, the Champions League game, which is a record in women's football. We also had the Euros 2020 Championship, which England won, and that was also a record attendance, especially the final itself. So women's football once again gaining traction, and it's beautiful to see. The Lakers, right, they're winning for the second time this season. More importantly, it is their second successive win, and it means that they are probably trying to, turn the corner, having lost their first 5 matches of the season. So it is a 2-win, 5-loss record for the Lakers to the start of the season, but that was Lonnie Walker starring for them with 28 points, leading them through against the Pelicans. I'm talking about the Pelicans. They had Zion Williamson leading the lines for them, top scoring with 27 points. You had CJ McCollum with 22 points, 9 rebounds and 8 assists, and the Lakers started the match quite all right, especially the second quarter. They had a 16-point lead at some point, but managed to let that slip, and they were just at the verge of losing the match until Matt Ryan, was able to hit a 3-point buzzer beater to force the game into overtime. And during overtime, you had LeBron James, taking control, even as the Lakers ran out winners, comfortable winners. As I said, Lonnie Walker, the fourth, leading with 28 points there. Anthony Davis, big on the bucket, in the paint rather, with 20 points and 16 rebounds. You had James as well, LeBron James with 20 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Russell Westbrook, yes, is already getting familiar with his role play. I'm talking about coming from the bench. Had 13 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds as well. Quite an impressive performance for the Lakers, who definitely seem to enjoy playing together once again, unlike the first 5 games where they were disjointed in terms of performance and chemistry. For the Pelicans, the loss condemns them to a 4-3 start to the season, talking about 4 wins and 3 losses. The Pelicans did virtually everything right. I think they just got caught up at some point, especially in the paint, when you had dribblers or ball handlers like Westbrook and James feeding the likes of Anthony Tony right there in the paint. But the Lakers definitely doing something right. Let's move away from the Lakers and talk about the Dallas Mavericks, and it's all about the record boy. Yes, Luka Doncic. The last man to do that was Will Chamberlain in 1962, but we now have a new man doing that, and that's Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks, who hit another 30 points game for the 7th time to the start of the season. He is the first player, as I said just now, since Will Chamberlain did in 1962, to begin the first 7 games with over 30 points in scoring. And it was a magnificent performance from him. 33 points, 11 dimes from, Doncic. He got assist from Christian Wood with 21 points as well, as the Dallas Mavericks edged the Utah Jazz with a scoreline of 103 to 100 points. Jordan Clarkson top scored for the Jazz with 22 points, had 8 dimes as well. Not forgetting Colin Sexton with 19 points, and you had the Jazz losing that one. For the Jazz, it's still an impressive start to the season for them. In 9 matches, they've won 6 and lost 3. So it's a 6-3 record for them. While for the Dallas Mavericks, in 7 games, they've won 4 and drawn 3. So it's a 4-3 start for them. The Dallas Mavericks will be taking on the Toronto Raptors on Friday, while for Utah Jazz, they will be taking on the Los Angeles Lakers, led by LeBron James. It will be intriguing to see how they fare in that regard. Let's talk about the Bucks now. That's the Milwaukee Bucks against the Pistons. The Milwaukee Bucks were also in action, and they are still the perfect team this season, unbeaten. Giannis Antetokounmpo led the Bucks to an impressive start to the season, defeating the Pistons. Giannis scored 32 points there. It was the Bucks who ran out convincing winners to win their 7th match on the trot. Talking about, the Milwaukee Bucks this time around against the Pistons, 116 to 91 points that ended, as Jrue Holiday also had 26 points to go with Giannis 32 points and 12 rebounds. Do not forget that Sadiq Bey top scored for the Pistons with 22 points. You also had Isaiah Stewart with 16 points and 10 rebounds, and then Bojan Bogdanovic with 14 points as well. I said earlier that the Bucks are the perfect team to this season, unbeaten, 7 games, 7 wins, while for the Pistons, in 9 games, they've won 2 and lost 7. The Detroit Pistons will be taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday in what's a difficult matchup for them, while for the Milwaukee Bucks, they'll be taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves on Friday. That should be an engaging match, especially in the paint, considering the size of Karl Anthony Towns, for the Timberwolves, as well as Rudy Gobert up against Giannis Antetokounmpo and Brooks Lopez. That's one matchup you want to see when it comes to both the defensive end of the court as well as the offensive end right there in the paint. That's where the battle will be for both teams. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you're looking forward to that as well. Quite an impressive display there from Ons Jabeur, Africa's top-ranked tennis player, Tunisia's very own world number 2, right there getting the better of our counterpart, American counterpart rather, Jessica Pegula, in straight sets. Talking about the WTA finals, it is the season-ending championship for women's tennis, and it was quite an impressive performance from Tunisia's own Ons Jabeur. As I said, she did that in 3 sets, having dropped the first set by 6 games to 1. She was able to rally, winning the second and third sets by 6 games to 3 apiece, and that means she's 1-1 to the competition. Talking about a win and a draw. Remember, she lost the opening match to Maria Sakkari. Talking about Maria Sakkari, Sakkari is through to the semifinals of the competition, courtesy of a straight sets victory over Aryna Sabalenka. 6-2, 6-4 that ended, and as a result of successive straight sets victories, you now have Maria Sakkari, the Greek number 5, into the semifinal of this year's WTA finals. It marks the 2nd time as well that she's making the finals of the competition. In fact, the 2nd successive time, because she made the semifinals last year as well. For Aryna Sabalenka, well, it is what it is. It is definitely a challenging one for her, talking about the loss. Jessica Pegula definitely has 2 losses in this group, having lost the first match as well. While for Ons Jabeur, as I said, she has 1 win, 1 loss. Aryna Sabalenka as well, having 1 win, 1 loss. But it's all about Sakkari, who is the big gun at this time. So there's all to play for, in the last round of matches, who will meet or who will move into the semifinals alongside Maria Sakkari. That's the big question in that group. Still talking about the WTA finals, you have Iga Swiatek, world number 1, who will be taking on Carolina Garcia today. If Swiatek wins that one, especially in straight sets, she will also book a place in the semi-final of the competition, and you can be assured that the world number 1 goes into this as the favorite, having led the tour in terms of the numbers of wins this season. On the other hand, you have Coco Gauff, who will be taking on, Daria Kasatkina. That's also a match you want to watch out for, talking about the WTA finals. Let's wrap up the show. Still talking tennis, but this time around the men's category. The Paris Masters is on, yes, and Rafael Nadal had his first match after being a dad. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be, as he lost that to Tommy Paul, the world number 31, in 3 sets. Nadal won the first set by 6 games to 3, but dropped the second and third. He dropped the second via a tiebreaker, 7-6, 7-4, and dropped the third by 6 games to 1 to crash out of the Paris Masters. And this is a tournament he's yet to win in his illustrious career, having won all other Masters. He's yet to win the Paris Masters. So it's Tommy Paul who moves into the next round, and Rafael Nadal will now have to focus on the ATP Finals, another tournament he's yet to win in his illustrious career. The ATP Finals will begin on the 13th of November, and let's see if Rafael Nadal can make it happen. Remember, he's just coming off the effects of an abdominal injury that ruled him out for months.